Welcome everybody to another Ask the Expert session, and delighted to have a topic here which seems to be being discussed quite a bit out there. The more you look into things, the more you see it. It's like when you're looking to buy a car and you want a red one, all you see is red cars. All I can see at the moment is stuff about TikTok. So I'm really pleased to have Matt Stait with us today. Come all the way from South Wales, which is wonderful. But just to kick us off, I wonder where we're at with TikTok. Now can everybody see the poll?
Yeah.
Good. Right. If you could all respond, just because you can download TikTok without having an account. Now, I had to check this with Matt first, because I have downloaded it, but I haven't got an account.
You got your dance moves sorted then?
That's actually.
Well, we can see where you're at with TikTok, can't we?
I'm nowhere with TikTok. I just associate it with teenage girls and dancing.
Chris, I've got it on my phone, but only because my daughters are logged in on it, and once in a while, I just, because they're like 10 and 13, it gives me a chance just to check on what they're up to.
And that's your excuse, Cameron? You stick to it.
That's my dodgy excuse, yeah. But I'm also making sure there's no predators watching my lovely little children.
Oh, it's a worry, isn't it?
Right, so let's just share that. So none of us have an account. Excellent. And one of us have downloaded it. So we're all very much TikTok novices, which is why I've asked Matt along, because he's going to enlighten us with the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think, around TikTok. Matt, I'm going to hand over to you. Let yourself introduce yourself, please, and the floor is yours.
Chris, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So that was an interesting poll. Now, my first question, really, because I'm a bit confused at the moment. Remind me all again what you do professionally. Are we all in marketing, in and around that kind of field?
Not really.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting that's for the most part what we're doing. However, we're not engaging with what is a world record breaking platform with regards to numbers and growth. So straight away, we've identified that there's a very real gap in your knowledge that we need to fill quite speedily, because it's very relevant to the conversation going forward. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen a little bit. Let's try a little bit of modern technology and see how we go. All right, so. All right, cool, there we are. So, can we all see that? Yep, good. All right, so essentially then what we're looking at is TikTok for Business, how to use it, what we can do with it. So essentially, if I had enough time, we'd go through the entire circle here, we'd look at the entire wheel, and we'd go through all the bits of it. What we're going to do is pick out some of the important bits on that particular journey. So we're going to have a look at what it is, how to use it correctly, how to use it to build your community, how to interact with it correctly, and then how to then leverage that into other platforms or maybe your pipeline, so on and so forth. So firstly, what is TikTok? Now, when we look at TikTok, most people make the assumption that it's a social media platform. TikTok doesn't describe itself as such. In fact, its mission statement says it's here to inspire creativity and joy through short form video. So if you imagine YouTube on like 20 cups of coffee with a sense of mischief, you're not far wrong. Okay, so that's not a bad way of describing what TikTok actually sort of looks like. So first launched by Douyin in China in 2016, brought to the rest of the world 2017 by ByteDance. So here are some numbers. They're actually a little bit out of date because I just put this to, I just pulled this in a little bit earlier. So I need to update these just a fraction. So number one non-gaming app of 2020, right? That stands. It's now over 2 billion strong. It had record-breaking growth last quarter of 319 million. So the numbers are incredibly significant. It's not small. What we're saying now is it's bigger than LinkedIn, it's bigger than Snapchat, it's bigger than Twitter. It's at least as big as, if not outgrowing, Instagram. So again, the scale of it now is just getting too much to ignore. So the in-app purchases now, and this is another really interesting number because we're talking a huge amount of money that's being circulated within the platform that if you're not on the platform, you've got no access to. So it's an entire ecosystem of sales, of purchases, of commerce being done, that if you're not on the platform, you haven't got an invite to the party. So really important that we sort of understand that. 90% of users access the app daily with an average watch time of 52 minutes. Again, it's the most interaction of all of the platforms. And so statistically, it's got a huge interaction rate, which again is really important when you're looking at how to leverage that correctly. Okay, so who am I then? Excuse me. So basically, I have a following. It's more than that now. It's around 227,000 now. I grow at around 1,000 followers a day. My average weekly views are around 1.5 million. So again, to put that into context, I was talking with the chap the other day. He's a presenter on a daytime television show, quite a successful one that's been around for a while. And he was actually a bit miffed because my viewing figures are higher than his, which is incredible for a social media platform, but it just shows you the power. Okay, so my highest video views, that's now gone up to about 4.5 million. And my overall watch, again, that's gone up to about 27, 28 million now. So that's a lot of numbers, okay? And all of that is done with zero ad spend and no twerking. Yeah, I'm of an age where I look better with my clothes on than off. So I'm not selling that, okay? So now that we sort of got who I am and where I'm coming from, then it's worth dispelling a few of the myths. Now, this is the first one. It's just a bunch of kids twerking. All right. The truth is now that it's not. It's maturing just the same way that Facebook, Instagram did. In fact, TikTok has just announced in the past few days that it's investing £15 million in educational and expertise content in Europe. So they're actively trying to push to a more mature audience. So as it stands at the moment, over 70% are in the 18 to 54 age range. So there is an actual breakdown there, which I won't mention them all. But if we look at that, there's 50 to 60% are in the 18 to 35 kind of age range. So the demographic isn't what people think it is anymore. Now, when we look at how it works itself, we've already mentioned it's a short form video platform. So the clip lengths are normally 15 or 30 seconds. So that doesn't seem like a great deal of time, but it's a great way to hone the ability to say whatever it is in a concise platform and a concise manner. So that 15 seconds, that's something that we're all going to have to learn anyway, because that's how we speak now. That's how we communicate now. It's all getting faster. And so we have to learn to get our message across faster. So when we're looking at that, we need to get people to stop and pay attention to us and then hold their attention for that length of time. Now, when you say 15 seconds, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you weigh that up against everything else that's going on, actually holding their attention can be quite challenging. That's part of the content creation, so on and so forth. Now, it's a doing platform. Now, when I say that, what I mean is they do trending hashtags, they do trending sounds, they do dances and activities and things. There's a lot of that going on. And so people like to interact, they like to engage, they like to be part of something. So that's a very real strategy when you're looking to grow on the platform, is to make sure that it's interactive. TikTok really like that. Now, the For You page is something that we need to sort of understand. So, sorry, I can't remember the name of the gentleman that said he was on there because his daughters was on there. So basically, if you are doing it from a parental point of view, i.e. having a look at what your kids are doing, you're going to get given a lot of content that is directly aimed at that age group and that demographic. So if it's a 13-year-old daughter, you will see things that would appeal to a 13-year-old girl. Whereas if you join for yourself and you set up your own account and you train TikTok to understand what you like, you will get fed whatever suits you. So unlike the other platforms, it doesn't give you a choice. So if you think about YouTube, it will give you a selection. Please choose a video, yeah, recommended for you. Now, what happens with the For You page is they just give you one choice. That's it. They just put a video up and then you can choose to watch it or scroll by. So that For You page is really, really powerful. A, because we wanted to get it to understand what we want to see, but also we want to know how to manipulate the platform so that our content gets to that For You page for the people that we want to engage with. Okay, so that's the, if you like, that's the dark art of TikTok. That's where the magic happens, is understanding how to create that environment so that your content that you're pushing out is going to the right people. Okay, so the algorithms then, they remain a little bit of a mystery in the same way that they do for Google and some others. They don't put that stuff out publicly, but the current thinking is that it works in circles. So basically what happens is you make a piece of content, it gets shared to around 300 to 500 people. And then what you need then is a 20% interaction rate. So you need 20% or more for it then to get shared out into the bigger circle. And then on it goes until hopefully it goes viral. So each time it needs to reach that 20% plus interaction rate, whether that be likes, comments, shares, duets, or that sort of thing. Yep. So we spoke a little bit about the trending hashtags. One of the things we need to realize is that the platform TikTok, very, very helpful. It actually tells us what's popular. So it will say to us, this is a trending hashtag. This is in the millions or the tens of millions or the billions. So you can piggyback on those. You can use those to promote your own stuff. You can also use hashtag search in the same way that you would use that for some of the other platforms. But it's important to make sure you understand a little bit about hashtags and the way they work. So as an example of that, if you're using a term that has billions, so say for example, we use the term money. Now that's got about 9 billion or something search terms. So if we use that on one of our videos and we were a smaller creator, we'd be like a 3-year-old at a football stadium when somebody scores a goal. We could shout as loud as we like and nobody would hear us. And so what we need to do is actually niche down a little bit on those hashtags to make sure we're in an audience that we can actually, have a chance of being seen in. So we need to use those strategically to grow. Okay, now they also have a thing called duets. You can use those to help to grow what you're doing, because if you've got somebody that's created a video, you can go side by side with them and do your variation of. So you can do a similar one, you can do a critique of it, you can do whatever you like, but you can use it to work alongside people that are doing similar things to you and hopefully steal a little bit of their audience. So there's lots of different sort of ways that we can go about that. And then the lives. Now, once you hit 1,000 followers, you can go live in the platform. Now, again, this is something that's really, really powerful and getting more so. So as an example of that, if I went live right now, then I would imagine I'd probably get a few hundred people on the platform TikTok. If I did it on Facebook, I'd probably be looking at maybe 40, 50. And that would be a reasonable number for a Facebook Live in the moment. If I told people that I was going to be doing a live tomorrow at a set time, right, I would expect to have 1,000 plus easily. And so the numbers are very significant when you're looking at that. But also with the lives, you can actually monetize that. I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. Okay, so very quickly then, I've just used this lovely young lady called Jay. Now, I've pulled up her profile, because she talks about psychology, human psychology. So she's very sort of science orientated. And so she doesn't sing, she doesn't dance, very visual, but she's got a following of 7.3 million. She makes a very substantial living from what she does with regards to social media. And it's all done through psychology and human psychology and how that works. So very, very interesting channel. But the reason that I've put her up here is because there's a couple of things that you can see. Now, number one, you can see the visuals and her name. Okay, and so that's helping to show what it is that she does. She also has a live link that you can see there on the screen. Now, that directly goes through to her products or services in the same way that mine does, and if you set one up correctly, yours will too. So people can click straight through to your online courses, your shop, your merchandise, whatever that may be. Okay, so you have an 80-character pitch. So that's, you've got to get your message into that 80 characters. You can set up your link account so you can track it through to Instagram and YouTube. They can just be single click buttons where people can go straight over to there. You can set up a pro account, which is something I would recommend doing because that's what allows you the live link. All right, now, Yeah, okay, so when we talk about the algorithms, then once you've set up your account properly, it allows you to get into the back end of it where you can see your analytics. Now, it's not the same as Facebook. It's nowhere near as advanced with regards to what it can do. When you look at sort of the ads manager system in Facebook, you can really pinpoint with great accuracy. TikTok is nowhere near as capable as that at the moment with regards to the analytics, but you can very easily get to the right people by using the right content and hashtags. So that's really what this slide is showing you. So what it's showing you there is that the bulk of the audience is the United Kingdom, and the bulk of the audience is straight from the For You page. So that's a new audience that are being drawn towards you. Okay, so with the right content, you can absolutely pinpoint into your specific market or niche once you understand how to do that. Okay, so this is one of my guys. Again, he's moved on from this. This is somebody that works from a personal finance point of view, talks about money, that sort of thing. So I think it's about 13 weeks in now, he's now on, I think it's 18,000, something like that. So he's grown quite substantially. He's using it very, very well, and he's doing things right. But this just gives you a little idea of some of the things that can be achieved with regards to both the click through into other things. For him, it's his podcast. It can give you an idea of what we're talking about with regards to numbers that can be achieved. So as I say, we're about 13 weeks in now, and he's got about 18,000. So it's a really good way to grow. All right, now when we look at monetization, now all of the main platforms, they've moved in to monetization on their 4th year, and we're there now with TikTok. We're in our 4th year. So historically, all the other platforms have done that. We're now doing the same. So they've just introduced Marketplace, which is a really interesting proposition going forward, because that allows brands to work with influencers and management just instantly within the platform. That's all now been catered for, which is really, really good. Again, that's a pay to play, that's an introductory platform. You have to be invited in. So as an example, I am in on that, so I could work directly with brands, so on and so forth, with TikTok's approval. Okay, you can use paid ads. That's again, that's invite at the moment, but that's opening out now shortly. You can have influencer campaigns, so you can either pay influencers. Now, the top influencer, which is a young lady called Lauren Gray, now they estimate that she can claim over £130,000 per sponsored post. That's an awful lot of money. So obviously that's the top end of the tier, but that does stagger down. So there's a lot of people now that are making pretty substantial incomes through becoming an influencer, and you can also use those then to push your own sort of campaign. Okay, so there's direct sales. Now, the platform itself doesn't actually like direct sales. So it doesn't like you to just sort of go on there and start pitching like that. But what you can do, as I said, is have a live link in, and you can map people through by using the right sort of content creation. Okay? You can cross-pollinate. So when we're looking at cross-pollination, my YouTube has grown 76% since I started on TikTok. That's a really, really powerful thing to do with this, is to map people over, because you can grow so quickly on TikTok. You can then use that to push them into your other mediums. All right, so the lives, like I said, you can go live at 1,000, and TikTok has its own currency, believe it or not. So they have a thing called a love bang or a puke. So I can gift you those. They got silly names, but you can actually cash those out for real money. And that's, again, that's important. The trade-off at the moment isn't that great. TikTok do take a pretty large portion of that, but it's an available thing. So there's account trading as well. A lot of people are looking at that at the moment. So in the same way that years ago, people would buy .com addresses and things like that because they'd have a value, TikTok accounts are no different. So once you get to a certain number, you can then move that around, pass that on, sell that, so on and so forth. So that's just, these are just a number of different ways that people can look to monetize the platform. So for the future, again, really interesting. Douyin at the moment, the Chinese version of this, you can buy directly from the video. So if I was talking to Helen and I like the blouse that Helen was wearing, I could just click a button, buy it, and have it sent to my door tomorrow without leaving this conversation. It's incredibly powerful what they can do. They're paired with Alibaba to do that, and the understanding is that at the moment they're in talks with Amazon and eBay to make those things a reality over here. So I've never yet known Amazon to turn down how to make a few quid, so I doubt very much whether they'll say no if the possibility presents. So that's something to look for in the future. And also the geolocation stuff. You can book hotel rooms, you can show people around. It's just incredible. Another really interesting part of that, which is also a little bit scary, and that is the fact that it has really high-end facial recognition technology, as does all the platforms, by the way. It's just that they use it quite specifically. So I could be talking to you now, click on a button, and it will give me all of your website details. So if you've done YouTube videos, it will let me know. If you have a website, it will let me know, and it will give me all of that in a list. Really, really powerful stuff. So essentially, it's not just about what's available today, it's also about building that community for what's going to be available in the future. Having a large following on TikTok now is really going to be some powerful stuff. And then if we look at sort of Instagram and YouTube and how hard it is to grow on there, if we'd have had the opportunity to track back, we probably would have, I'm sure. If we'd have had the opportunity to go back sort of 5-8 years, what have you, and start there, we probably would, because we understand the value of a community on there now. So the opportunity there for TikTok is right now. Okay, so how do I make money? How do you make money? How can we make money, right? This is just one of the things. Now I get this a lot, right? So I'm just going to briefly overview. I'm not going to drill down specific numbers because there's no need. It just gives you an idea. Okay, so if you guys have mailing lists, if you guys have any kind of collection of data for your customer base, right? And you look to do them a mail shoot, the open rates on that, they're not that great these days. They're not big numbers, but they are trackable, right? And so if we say, right, okay, if I've got a following of what now, sort of 250,000 odd, right? And if we look at those click-through rates into my online products and services, that's not an insubstantial number. I'm regularly, literally at least every other day, I'm getting messages like this, people asking me if I can train them, if I can work with them, and so I can then push them through to my online products and services. So there's the direct lines there. Okay, it's very good for exposure. It's very good for tracking people through. Okay, guys, so that's the end of the presentation there. I've just got to try and, hang on, stop the share. There we go. So I hope that was interesting. And if you guys have any questions, then more than happy to try and answer them if I can.
Excellent, Matt. Thank you very much. That was a whistle-stop tour, but really, really interesting. We've got a few questions in the chat that have come up, so we'll sort of address those first. But then, if other people have questions, then we can come off mute and ask away. First one up was Cameron that said, was it called something else originally? It wasn't TikTok originally, was it?
Yeah, no, so the basically it was Musical.ly is the platform that you're thinking of. So ByteDance combined the two basically. So it brought the rights and then combined that with Musical.ly, which is where you get all the lip syncing and stuff from, because that's what that was in its first incarnation of that.
Okay. And Helen says, do they charge for a pro account? So
no,
they don't.
No.
Is there a difference between a personal account and a business account?
There's a couple of differences to look at, yeah. But the first question with regards to the pro account, now it's kind of strange how TikTok have done it, and I'm not entirely sure why. But essentially, when you sign up, when you go into the settings, it gives you the opportunity to switch to a pro account. It doesn't charge you anything extra for it. But what that does do is it allows you to see the analytics. So it allows you to look at the back end and have a look and see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what your numbers are, that sort of thing. So it's incredibly powerful. And considering it's completely free to do, it makes no sense not to.
Okay. Cameron, do you want to unmute yourself? You've got a burning question about the Trump administration.
Well, it was in the news yesterday that they're talking about banning it, and I'm just thinking, well, why? If it's a platform, and the Americans particularly love opportunity and the chance to make money, why are they talking about banning it? Is it because it's Chinese?
Why does Trump do anything?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay away from the political sort of opinions that I may or may not hold. But what I will say is, when we look at the current situation at the moment, it is a bit challenging. You've got India that's just recently banned 57 Chinese-owned apps, but they have an historical issue. They share a border, and they've been pretty difficult with each other for a while. So that's essentially, I would suggest that's more political than security-wise. When we look at the US, again, how much of that is just, you know, shouting and throwing a little temper tantrum? I don't know. We don't know how that looks. Again, I suspect it's more political than anything else with some of the things that are going on at the moment. But when we look at it from our point of view, like with regards to end users, number one, TikTok isn't doing anything that Google doesn't do every single day, only better. And number two is that if we're worried about TikTok sharing information with government, so on and so forth, how many times has Facebook been caught out giving stuff to the government? I mean, you know, again, it's just, we do it every single day on all of the platforms in one form or another. So are there issues? Of course there are. There are with everything. I mean, we can negate some of them to a degree. Other ones we just accept because the truth is they're happening on all the other platforms that we use. I mean, the amount of conversations I've had with people that have Alexa in their home, or a smart meter, or a smart TV, or a Fitbit, and it's like, guys, you do understand that you're the product. It's your data that they're selling on to third parties, and you're jumping in and agreeing to that. So it kind of makes it a little bit weird when people start saying, "Oh, well, I don't want TikTok doing that," because it's already happening. You know, so it's kind of strange. Am I comfortable with it? Not everything, no. The same as everybody else. Do I admit that I can do one or two things at this point, which is crawl back under a rock and never accept any technology because I'm worried about, you know, what they're going to do with the data, or try and leverage the situation that we have to the best of my advantage? I'm going to try and choose the second one just because that's the type of person I am.
Excellent. Okay, Vicky, you've got a question. Hello, Vicky? No? Okay, well, Vicky asked, would you recommend businesses to start using TikTok even if their target audiences are over 35?
Yes, 100% yes. And I say that for two very distinct reasons. Number one, as we've already established, the platform is getting older. And so the growth rate of the over 35s is massive, and it's just growing really, really quickly. So that's the first part of that, is that if your audience aren't on there today, they probably will be tomorrow. And the second part of this is that what we're looking to do is stay current, stay relevant, not just with our community, but with our skill base. So if I can't work on this platform, which is the way that we're going, then how am I supposed to take the leap into the next platform? Because I'm still going to be stuck in the world of Facebook, which is, you know, which in current terms is actually quite prehistoric now. And a lot of people are moving away from that. You know, there's a lot of under 35s that don't use Facebook at all. So that isn't to say Facebook isn't a wonderful thing, mind. I'm not disputing that at all. But what I'm saying is the current way that we communicate, the communication style, the presentation, if we can't keep up with that, and if we can't learn the skills behind that, then 2-3 years from now, we're going to be so far behind the curve as to be almost obsolete.
Associated with that, if you're marketing to a business, a B2B, is TikTok still a good platform? Because I see it mostly as a B2C platform.
Yeah, it's heavily in favor of B2C at the moment. But again, like everything else, there are things that can be mapped across. And again, one of the stories that I highlight at this point is that you don't actually know who's watching, because there's a lot of people that go on there, but they go on there from like a personal point of view, so just as a bit of fun, or they go on there to monitor. Members run up to them and go, "Whoa, look at this." I mean, I was approached a few months ago directly by an organisation that had 8,500 people in its fold, and they wanted me to do some training for them. And their only point of contact to me was through TikTok. One of their children actually went and shown the guy one of my videos and was like, "Look at this, look at this, look at this." And from the back of that, he contacted me, and that unfolded. So you never actually know who's watching. So it's really important on that. But also, again, we're back into the realms of what's possible in the future. So even now today, it might not be the best place for B2B necessarily. There's no question that you know, a year from now, having a platform where you have X amount of followers, X amount of people that are within your community is going to pay off in one form or another.
Interesting. Right, Pete, you've got a question.
Yeah. First of all, Matt, thanks very much. That's phenomenal. This thing, I had no idea until the way you explained it was explained. But if you're sharing mailing lists and all that sort of stuff on TikTok, are there GDPR considerations as there are on other things, or is it just a free, you know, share what you like kind of thing?
Oh, right. Okay. No, there's still rules and regs in place, and you wouldn't be sharing email lists specifically on there. I just mentioned email lists because it was a way to understand numbers in your head, a very easy thing to latch onto. So,
Okay.
you know, so basically that was all about the open rates and that sort of thing. With regards to the way that you communicate within TikTok, you can only directly message people privately if you are following one another. So we would both have to be following each other for us to privately message. So it has to be out on the open forum. And so that's actually, you know, quite a good security measure in place, especially if we're talking about sort of minors, younger people. So for myself, obviously running a full-time martial arts gym where I have classes for 4 years and up, you know, working with a lot of schools, a lot of vulnerable groups, doing all those kind of things, I do have to be sensitive to those requirements. And so, yeah, TikTok is actually getting much better when it comes to like personal security. A bit like Zoom, it's grown so fast, so quickly.
Yeah.
You know, Zoom had a lot of issues because it grew 600% in a few months. Now, there's not an organization I've ever heard of that can absorb that kind of growth without hitting a few walls.
Yeah.
And TikTok's no different. You know, it's had record-breaking growth and it's had a few teething problems.
Sure. Can I ask one more, Chris?
Yeah.
Where you go.
Yeah, no, it was just about, now I'm a business advisor and obviously marketing comes into that. And I'm thinking about from the demographical side of it, where we spoke about ages and whatever. And do you think in my world where I'm looking back to Chris's thing about B2C, B2B, my clients are they're starting businesses or they have businesses already running, they're SME based, et cetera. Would it be a great portal for that? I understand your thing about, well, it's going to become one. But at the moment where I'm using the traditional ones, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, do you think this is definitely the time to jump on the back of that, on the back of TikTok at the same time?
Yeah. Aside from my natural bias, because I like it there. If I can just expand that out a little bit, there are 3 sort of points on this, and you may have to remind me that I had 3 because I'll waffle on and forget. And that is that at the moment, I was just having a conversation earlier on about the finances of things and the back end of things, right? And as an example of that, there's an organization now that are just looking to launch a specific credit card for influencers, for social media influencers, because the traditional banking systems and the financial sort of organizations, they can't figure it out because it's new, it's different, it's not something that they understand fully. And so these guys are coming in. So do any of you, have you heard of the Black Card for Nando's? No? Okay, well, for the very lucky few in the world, you get this little credit card thing that basically means you can go into any Nando's anywhere and they'll feed you for free. You know, certain celebrities have one, that sort of thing. It's very cool, very cool. And so this basically what this company is doing, they're organizing a credit card that they're calling Carrot, which is going to be a black card, which again is going to have that coolness attached to it, that you have to basically jump through a certain number of hoops, and it is invite only, where you can then access this credit card, which is solely for that kind of deal. One of the other things I was talking to is some financial people with regards to how that actually looks when it comes to investments, pensions, portfolios, blah, 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 all the grown-up stuff. Because believe it or not, 18-year-old kids that are bringing in 10 figures a month, 6 figures a month, you know, when people are bringing in lots of money, then they want to know what to do with it just the same as we do. You know, the difference is how they are drawing that towards them. And that's really where the interesting thing is on that. But what I was getting to was that if these institutions and really, really slow moving things that have been part of our world for so long are slowly starting to turn like the proverbial ocean liner, you know, then we have to take notice of that as well, because they've seen enough reason to do so, and they're investing far more than we are. And so there's definitely value there when you're looking at all the indicators. The second thing is a little story I tell about a friend of mine, which is great, and it really highlights this massively. And that is, he's a guy in his early 50s. He spent a lifetime building a business. He runs a number of stationery shops. So he's got 3 physical locations and an online section, and they do all of the good stuff, you know, the nice pens, all that sort of thing, right? And they've been around. He's built that up from nothing. And he has a pretty comfortable life on the back of that, okay? His daughter is 18 years of age and makes more money than him. She is an influencer, right? She opens up makeup and things like that. Okay? Her boyfriend is a YouTube certified influencer and does exactly the same, right? And they flounce around the house saying, why should I work hard? And they just take the mickey out of him. It drives him nuts, as you can imagine. But it clearly highlights that the way the world is moving, there are so many new different ways of making money, of creating wealth, of opportunity now that we're struggling to keep up with, that it almost, we're in a position of, we're looking at it and don't want it to be true because it means there's a big gap in what we know.
Yeah.
But that's one of the really interesting things about it. I mean, when I started on this journey and I started really looking into TikTok specifically, I had no idea of the intelligence, the creativity, the work ethic of some of these guys. You know, some of these youngsters are just absolutely unbelievable in what they're doing. And unfortunately, I don't have the vitality of youth anymore to be able to sort of keep up with that. But what I can do is cherry pick what's relevant to me and try and stay on top of that. So so for those reasons, absolutely 100%, because if you're offering any kind of advice from a marketing point of view, from a business point of view, from a coaching point of view, then we need to be on top of what's current, what's working. That it really is that simple in a nutshell, because otherwise I'm giving second-rate information.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you. Helen, you've got a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, can you share content from Facebook and Instagram in TikTok, or does it just exist on its own?
Yeah, you can share it, but there's a caveat to that. So basically, at the moment, TikTok is the biggest thing that isn't Facebook owned. So Facebook at the moment doesn't like that at all. They just recently announced their competition towards TikTok. They're running a thing called Reels, which is short form video, and they're trying to do that on Instagram. I think they're too late to the party with regards to toppling TikTok now. It's grown too fast, too quickly. So I don't think that's going to impact like that. But what they do is they don't like to share that across. So in the same way that LinkedIn will, won't pass you around if you use outside links. The platforms like to keep you on the platform. So what you can do, and an easy fix on that, is you just save the video to your camera roll and then upload that straight to Facebook and things. You can do it like that, share the link. But you're seeing it more and more. I mean, TikTok now is ranked in Google. You can find that, and it is a library of content in the same way that YouTube is. It's just quicker. So, I've got, as an example, I don't know exactly how many videos, but there's hundreds of videos I now have on there. And I can walk away from the platform for a week and not do anything, and still gain 1,000 followers a day, just because I've got that, I've got that momentum now. And so when you look at it like that, it's very much worth it, for no other reason than once it's got to a certain size, it will run off by itself, and it will bring lots of good things into the world because of it. I mean, I'm sat here now talking to you guys on the back of it. Why? Because one day I decided to make a 15-second video on some weird platform that should have just been for kids.
Thank you.
Excellent. And Simon, you got a question? I was wondering when somebody was going to pop up with the ad platform, and I thought it might be you.
Yeah, so I was one of the people who downloaded the app, and I went onto it the other day, and it wasn't obvious to me if I was being served ads or not. So I'm used to the Facebook platform and LinkedIn and others. So how does that work? Are we yet to see ads, or was I looking at an ad and just didn't know it?
Yeah, a mixture of both, to be honest. So basically, we're all in a world at the minute where we're used to Facebook. So we're used to having sponsored ads, you know, sandwiched in around our stuff, disguised as content, you know. And to be honest with you, we've become sort of just not paying any attention to that anymore. That's one of the beautiful things about TikTok at the moment. That's not quite there. They're starting to roll out the ads now. So it does have ads. It does have sponsored ads, but it does a lot of things in other ways. So there's a lot of influencer content. There's a lot of hashtag things. So some of the hashtag challenges, one of the ones I point up at the moment is Daz. Do we all know Daz, the washing powder? Yep, sexy stuff, I know, right? But they're actually running a hashtag campaign at the moment on TikTok, and they're just shy of 100 million engagements from it. So that's a washing powder. So imagine what you could do with your stuff. But my point on that is that, yeah, you're seeing it, but quite often it's delivered in a way where you don't actually realize that that's what it is, because it's part of the actual content itself. The specific paid ad stuff, that's still in beta stages, and that's just being rolled out now with the marketplace and things like that. So you don't necessarily get that that full-on advertisement thing, you know, as much. That is coming, and it does happen. Once you start going on the now, occasionally you'll get your For You page will open up to a paid ad screen, and so that will come up as it would a video, but it will say that it's a paid ad on there. So that is getting more, but it's still nowhere near in the way that it is Instagram or Facebook.
And do you have a view on the costs and comparative costs to advertising on TikTok compared to Facebook, or is it too early yet?
Well, yeah, it's still basically at the moment it's still in its beta stages with the ads platform. So it's an invite situation both for companies and for creators. So I mean, I've been invited into the marketplace, so I can do that. That's absolutely fine. But with regards as a company, if I wanted to advertise on there, then what I would have to do is apply for that and be accepted. Now, they ask for a minimum daily spend, but that's where it gets kind of interesting, because what they're saying is they want to have, I think it's £500 a day on your ad spend on there. But then when people don't do that, they don't seem to kick back on it. So that's all up in the air at the minute, because it really is sort of brand new and being tested. Realistically, I mean, I'm going to be absolutely honest and say at the moment, anyone that is paying money outside of a big corporation, anyone that is paying real money to gain exposure on TikTok isn't very good at marketing. And I'm going to say that because it's such a great opportunity to grow that a little bit of, you know, just a little bit of a sprinkle or a little bit of the right thing in the right place can get you millions of views. And after all, and I don't take this the wrong way, but, you know, what are people paying us for? That's I know it's quite challenging, and I don't mean it to be challenging in the respect of I'm not dismissing anybody's capabilities, but what I'm saying is at the moment, if a kid can go on there and get 5 million views, and it really is possible to do that, it really is possible to go on there and get millions of views overnight. So if I know that's possible, and if I know the tools of the platform to give that the best opportunity to happen, then the only thing that's left is my content creation strategy. The only thing that's left is how I present my message. And that's what I'm being paid for, is to present the best message. So, you know, that's on me.
So just a point of ignorance, really. Do you have to create the videos on your phone, or can you upload from other places?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the platform's really, really good in the sense that it gives you lots of toys. It's a really easy entry. You can go straight from your phone. It's actually better in certain circumstances to do it straight from the phone because it doesn't have as many copyright loops to jump through. So it will get out into those circles much, much quicker. It'll be shared more. There's lots of editing apps on there. There's lots of filters on there. There's lots of sound stuff. There's loads of really great things. So what I suggest to everyone to do is to get on there, have a play. You don't have to upload the video. You can delete it several times before you put something out into the world. And so I'd recommend having a play with it and learning what some of it does. it's actually really, really clever. And considering the absolute low entry point to get into it, some of what you can do with it is genuinely quite mind-blowing. Outside of that, then there are lots of apps that you can use, editing software and things that you can bring to bear on that. One of the ones that I use a lot is one called InShot, completely free. It's a mobile app, and that's a really good one just for doing a little bit of tinkering.
What's that? InShot?
InShot, yes, InShot. Doesn't cost anything. So that's one of the ones that I use quite a lot. So you can repurpose things, so you can pull off bits of clips from elsewhere. So if you've got YouTube stuff, you can pull some of that off. You can use your Instagram stories, whatever. You can pull other things down. You can shoot directly into the app, which, as I said, is beneficial in a lot of ways because of the copyright and all the rest of it. But they're throwaway. They're 15 seconds, and so you can do them literally in the moment. So quite often I'll be boiling the kettle and just think of something to say or what have you, or I repurpose a lot of stuff. So again, one of the things that's part of the sort of trickery of all of this is making content that can work cross-platform. So if I'm making a YouTube clip, then I know if I want to monetize that, it's got to be 10 minutes. So I think, right, within that 10 minutes, right, so it needs to be over 10 minutes for YouTube, but it needs to be under 10 minutes for LinkedIn. But then I need to be up to a minute for Instagram and only 15 seconds for TikTok. Right? So what I'm actually doing is I'm aware of that when I'm making that content so that I can actually chop that down into the various sizes. So I'm not having to make 6 different things. And so that's something that's quite easy to do once you start looking at it. It's not actually as complicated as it sounds.
Brilliant. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a couple of general things, really. Matt, I mean, firstly, thank you. It was a fantastic presentation. I was one with the kids that are on there. As much as I wasn't sure about the platform in the first place, when I have gone on and exactly what you've just said in terms of some of the things that I've seen the kids doing, they've created a 15-second clip and it's all been edited fantastically with music and things going on and jump cuts and animations, and I'm thinking they're like little movies. And I just think, how did a 10-year-old do that when there's people that have gone to film school that still struggle? I've been very impressed with that, so I would promote it in that respect. But secondly, in terms of revenue streams, have you received then revenue streams directly from TikTok, or has that just come through you being able to sort of plug your business and in that respect, or has it come directly from them?
Okay, yeah, they do have their own currency. They do have their own monetary system, which I think I did mention in the presentation there. The trade-off on that isn't very good. The percentages aren't great at all, but it is a possibility, and there are people that do make a pretty good income from that. They're just happy with the split, which I wouldn't be personally. But yes, there is a certain amount that comes from that. You can be gifted things, and then you can cash that out for real money. For me personally, one of the biggest things for me is the fact that it's an introduction into my pipeline of funnels. So I've got live links in the bio for TikTok itself, but what I also do is I map people over into my longer form content. So as an example of that, it would be, if that 15 seconds interested you, you can see a longer version over on YouTube. They go over onto YouTube, sit for the 10 minutes if they like that, or you can go into my low-level paid content, the tripwire stuff. For a couple of quid, you can get it brought into that, and then once we go through that, then we can start introducing you to our £100 range kind of deal, so on and so forth. And so there's a very clear pathway through for people to follow if they wish to do so. And then on the top of that, then you've got obviously influencer stuff. You've got people that are looking to work with you in various guises, because obviously once you start gaining a following and you've got an audience, then people want to use that audience to present their message, if you will. So, I mean, let's be real, I'm a man of a certain age, so I'm not going to have Nike coming towards me for sponsorship, but, Ginsters and Just for Men all day long.
Excellent. Well, conscious of time, Matt, that was brilliant. Can you give us 3 takeaways that everybody on here should be doing? What's our next steps if we want to get involved with TikTok? Set up an account, number 1.
Yeah, obviously, if you wish to be on there, then yes, set up an account. obviously. Basically, if I could give you sort of 3 tips, they would be learn to be concise in your messaging. So think one message for one video, rather than trying to think of 20 different things, right? One message, one video, keep it concise. Number 2, the way you structure your content, the first job is to make them stop, right? And so what happens is this, they go onto the For You page and they're like, So you've got to get them to stop doing that, right? So that's your first job. So once you've done that, then you've obviously got to engage them for that little bit of time. Okay, now, third little tip on this is interaction. A good way to help with interaction is to ask an open question. So when you're communicating with these guys, don't just say, what do you think, you know, is it a yes or is it a no? Because they can write that really quickly. What you want is something that's going to take them time to type in, because the longer they're typing, the more your video is playing in the background, which means it's gaining more watch time. And so TikTok thinks it's more popular. All right, so open-ended questions, try and get that dialogue going within the video comments, and that then really starts to create some traction. So yeah, those are a couple of really, you know, easy wins on that and how to do that. So it's like everything else, there's an art to it. There's understanding the rules, but once you've got the hang of how it all works, then it's just a case then of how well you can present your message.
Yeah. Brilliant. Sounds like I think my message that I took out from that was build now for the future. Now's the time to get on there and experiment and learn and, you know, make the mistakes, because you're building up that following. So that's excellent. Last question, Matt. If anybody here wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, you can jump over onto LinkedIn and join me on there. Find me on, obviously, on all the social media platforms. So just stick Matt Stait in, and then I should pop up. If you want to look at me on TikTok, it's Modern Samurai MA, and that's one of the ones that I have. So that's my, if you like, my alter ego, my Batman persona. So that's when I wear my pants on the outside and run around folding people up. So that's so you can find me through that as well. But yeah, just any of those things, Matt Stait. And if anybody wants to sort of chat more, anything, connect, happy to have a virtual coffee. That's what we're calling it these days, aren't we? Happy to have a virtual coffee. And so yeah, more than happy to do that.
Excellent. Matt, thank you very much indeed for your time, everybody. I think that was great. Can we have a quick round of applause?
Thanks, Matt.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Matt. That was brilliant. Excellent. Just one final thing for you guys. Agency Local Insight event is on the 16th. You should have all had emails about it. 6 p.m. This is the bi-monthly one, and we're focusing on pricing strategy. So should be a good one. So on that note, Matt, thank you very much again. Thank you everybody for joining. Hope you found that useful. I certainly did. And see you again soon. Cheers for now.
Thank you.
Bye.